Full warm-up sequence. Use it before you surf. Use it before you train. Don't ever move into pain. If something hurts, you need to get yourself checked out. These are kind of dynamic movements, so it's not right for everybody depending on injury history. If you have a problem getting into some of these positions, you need to break it down to the individual joint component, maybe the thoracic spine, shoulder, hip, ankle. You need to mobilize those, stretch them, tissue release work, and then come back to these larger movement patterns. If you need help with that, check out stretchesforsurfers.com. So let's start moving. So first we're going after an inchworm, ankle mobilization, some hip mobilization. Good for the upper body as well. If you have problems flexing forward because of a spinal issue, you need to not do these, okay? So one thing you need to be aware of, when I'm in that stretched out position, tight abs. Don't sag at the low back. Tight exhales to get those abs going a bit more. Good push-up position. Shoulders are stable. I'm not sagging. Inch the feet up, 1 foot at a time. As you bring a foot up, I'm actively trying to drive the heel to the ground. If you need to, you can bend the knees a bit, but you're going to come up as far as you can come comfortably. Control the hands out. Don't sag. Bring the hands as far forward as you can, being able to keep your back position. And hold this for a full inhale and solid exhale. Solid exhale to engage the core even further. Inch, drive the heels. Push through the hands. Spider-Man stretches. Show you a few variations. Starts in good, tight push-up position. Actively using your muscles, bring the leg, foot up. So you're coming through hip flexion and external rotation. Don't just speed through it and plop it. You want to be able to actively control this range. When I get into this position, I'm actively driving this hip laterally, okay? So I'll do this side. Trailing leg, tight glute, and I'm driving the front of this hip towards the ground. We're gonna do rotation. So whichever hand is staying stationary on the ground, we'll do both. You need to really start pressing through that arm. Chest comes tall. Eyes and neck lead first, then ribs, and then arm. Other way, so I start by driving into the ground, chest tall, eyes, ribs, and you can also do chest tall rotations. Eyes lead, arm, shoulder, ribs follow. A lot of hip flexibility here. If people are really locked up through the hips, they can't get here, you need to come to your knee. And also really stiff thoracic spines prevent people from getting chest tall. So again, you might need to individually stretch the components before you come into a full Spider-Man stretch. Stretchesforsurfers.com. So come to the knee, and then from here, chest tall, I'm driving this leg laterally. Tight glute here, driving down. Drive through the hand, eyes. So an active squat stretch with reach. Large amounts of ankle mobility, hip mobility, thoracic, shoulder mobility. So again, if you can't get there, you need to work on the individual components that you're lacking. Don't move into pain. Reach nice and tall, actively as tall as you can, and then hip hinge forward, keeping a flat back. And you're kind of getting into the hamstrings here. And come forward as far as you can. When you can't come any further forward, keeping a flat back, moving only at the hip joint, then you start to fold forward. Use your muscles to pull yourself into this squat position. This can be really hard for a lot of people because ankles are locked up and hips are locked up. So in this bottom position, I'm actively driving laterally through the hips, pulling my chest tall, and we can play with some rotation. Eyes lead first, followed by ribs and arm. What we really want to get to is reach. As I reach, I'm reaching fingertips away from the body. And again, if you don't have enough thoracic spine mobility and you're too tight through all this shoulder tissue, you're just going to jam up that shoulder joint. So don't move into pain. Release tissue. Do thoracic mobilizations if you need to. Reach, reach, stand out of it, fold, reach. So warrior lunges, reverse lunge with reach, whatever you want to call it. We're really starting to work on some single leg control and getting these big spiral rotational chains of muscles stretched out. Big step back, vertical shin position. So I want the knee on top of the ankle or slightly behind it and really driving pressure through your heel. Back leg, want glute tight, light stretch through the front of this hip. Cool? Sink down into it, reach up, so think tall, and then rotationally towards the leg that's forward. You can really hit both sides, but when you reach here, you're going to feel this whole chain. And then to come up, shin or knee is on top of the ankle or behind it. Drive through the front heel, get this hip to drive you up tall. Big step back, pressure through front heel, reach nice and tall as possible, and then rotate. Again, we're getting this chain, knee to elbow. And don't think crunching forward, think rotating, and then reach tall and touch fingertips to heel behind. So you're hitting this anterior oblique sling, so the oblique line, these rotary slings, and then posterior oblique sling, which is your lat and opposite glute. And you're working on some balance. If you're a weapon, close eyes, that's really hard. So there you go, get warmed up, move well. If you're tight through some of these movements, break it down to the individual component, run through these, and then do those kind of standard shoulder swings, whatever else you want before you surf, before you train. Questions, comments, get in touch, surfstrengthcoach.com. Peace.